This writing's entitled The Red Wall Cabinet. I bought a primitive dry sink at a Rego store auction. It was in such bad shape I couldn't restore it in an efficient way. I dismantled it and fashioned two hanging cupboards from the doors and other salvaged materials. One was a corner cupboard with one shelf in the middle. The other was a flat cupboard with one shelf and a bottom drawer. Both cupboards retained their old dark mustard paint. They were both for sale in a retail outlet for a period of time. The asking price was approximately $275. I don't remember exactly. I offered the corner cupboard to one of my regular customers for a reduced price. As she often did during our negotiations, she was taking her time making up her mind. When she finally decided to buy it, it was too late. I had taken the cupboard to Shipshewana and sold it at auction. It brought $515. I decided I wasn't going to get my price for the flat cupboard in the Bedford market. I liked it too much to reduce the price, especially after the sister cupboard had done so well at Shipshewana. So I decided to keep it. I didn't like the mustard color, however, and repainted it red. It hangs on the south wall of Sojourner's Retreat. Now, this is one of those times where my edited writing doesn't tell the whole story. And I'm going to have to go back and elaborate some on what's written here. First of all, the Rego store. Rego, Indiana is a little blip in the road between Chambersburg and Palmyra on 150. And it's one of those old country stores, classic long building with the flat front store and the porch, and the kind of place that you just love to see. It's the kind of place that you see in old pictures and paintings of old country stores. Much like the one in Chambersburg where Doug Jenkins owns and has his annual auction in February. Well, Doug bought that store in Rego, and Rego, by the way, is that store. I think there's an old barn or outbuilding that's about to fall down. Probably, I haven't been through there in a few years, probably has fallen down by now. It's across the road from the store. And maybe one or two houses, and I'm not sure of that. There might not be any houses on that road. You may have to go down the side road. But, you know, if it's got a sign up, Rego, you blink your eyes and the other sign, Rego, as you're going 150 towards Palmyra. So, little whistle stop, blink and you miss it town, Rego, Indiana. Doug bought that store and he painted it green and yellow, and it looks really nice. And for a while he tried to have a second auction there every year. I think it was in July he would have stuff at that store and have an auction. He discontinued that practice after a few years, but While he was trying to do that, I was at one of his summertime auctions at Rego, and on the porch of the store was mid to late 1800s dry sink. It's made of yellow poplar, had the old mustard crusty paint on it. It would have been a delightful piece to own if it had been in better shape, but it was in poor shape. And as you know, I like to refer to those as things that have seen hard times. And this dry sink had definitely seen hard times. And I managed to buy it for a price that I was willing to pay, even in the condition that it was in. And I say in the writing that I was unable to restore it efficiently. What really happened was when I tried to load it in my truck, it fell apart. I mean, it literally, there was nothing hardly that was still together. By the time I got that off of the porch and into my truck, it was literally a pile of boards. But they were good boards, and the doors were really good doors. So when I got it home, I evaluated the situation, and I decided I couldn't restore the pie sink. I'd had so much labor in it that I couldn't get my money back. And I built 2 cupboards out of it, which, just like I said in the store, and I still have one of those cupboards. I'm looking at it right there on the wall. And the other cupboard, which I mentioned a lady trying to buy, this lady is, she's a dear, sweet woman. She has a home-based business of her own, and she has bought things from me over the years. Back to when I very first started selling things, she was buying things from me. She come out to the barn, and it always took her a long time to buy something because she had to think about it and mull it over. She had to try to negotiate a better price. One time she was out here when one of my daughters asked me, "Dad, what's the daughter price on this?" And she picked up on that, and she began to ask for the daughter price anytime she had opportunity to try to buy something. So this kind of negotiation was going on with her. Over the time that she started to buy it, she wanted to buy this cupboard, indicated that she was interested in it, until one day I finally agreed to sell it to her. And what happened was, I was working still at General Motors at the time, and I would stop in there at Peddler's Corner, and the girl that ran the place, I'd stop in and chat with her, see how things were going, see if I need to do something in my booth. And this particular evening, I stopped in there after work, and she said that this lady had come in to look at the little cupboard again, and she had made an offer on it. And I said, you know, I think I'm probably going to take that offer, but I want you to tell her that she needs to come in and pick the cupboard up. It's not going to be like in layaway or held for her forever. The thing is for sale until she comes to get it. But when she comes to get it, then she can have it for that price that we agreed on. So this was on a Thursday night, and she said, "I'll call her right now." So she called her, and she told her, she said, "Luke's standing right here, and he said you could have that, but you had to come and get it because it was going to be for sale until you came and got it." And she said, "Oh, I'll be in there tomorrow to get it." And I said, "Well, that's fine. She comes in tomorrow, everything will be good." So I didn't think any more about it. The next week I was going to go to Shipshawana, and if you don't know what Shipshawana is, it's a Amish community in northern Indiana. They have an auction there, antique auction every Wednesday year round. And back in the days that I'm talking about and before that, it was a fantastic place to go buy things. They have a very large building. It's probably 60 feet wide and maybe 200, 250 feet long, and they conduct 12 auctions at once. They ring a bell at 8 o'clock in the morning and they start through that building with 12 auctioneers, and they go until probably 3 or 4 in the afternoon to sell everything in there. And it's just I just love it. It's a hoot. You run around there trying to be in the right place at the right time, and sometimes you can get really good bargains. You could, back then you could always see really good stuff. There was good stuff there every week. So I had a little short bus at the time, and me and a friend of mine had decided to go up there and take a load to sell and try to buy some things and bring it back. And so I stopped in there on Tuesday after work, so we were going to leave 2 o'clock in the morning to go to Shipshewana for the Wednesday sale. And I went back to pick up some Crocs that I intended to take to Shipshewana with the load I had in the bus. And there sat that little cupboard still. And I hollered at Anna, and I said, Anna, didn't she come in and get this cupboard? She said, no. I said, did she call you? She said, no. I haven't heard anything from her since last week. So I said, well, I'm going to take that thing to Shipshewana. And I took it to Shipshewana, and as you heard in the story, it sold for $515 at Shipshewana when I had agreed to sell it to this lady for $175. And that's not the end of the story. The guy who bought the sale, of course, you can't talk to people while they're having the sale because you're the ring man. You're in your booth holding stuff up to sell, and the auctioneer's selling stuff, and you're just really busy until they get your little area sold out, and then you're done, and you can go around looking at other stuff and buy stuff yourself after the auctioneer has passed where your location is. So I was going around looking for things that I might buy after my sale, and I was up by the one big door there, and there was a pile of things there on the floor that were all similar things, all the kind of things that I would have loved to have had an opportunity to buy. And sitting among them was this little corner cupboard. And I thought, you know what? That looks like somebody buying things for resale. How can that be? So I was interested in finding out who the guy was and what he was doing, buying all that kind of stuff. So I just kind of hung around up there until here he comes up the aisle, and he's carrying some other stuff down there, and he set it down, and I said, hey, fella, just curious. I said, that little cupboard there was mine. You bought it a while ago. I said, what do you intend to do with that? He said, I'm going to resell it. I said, wow. I said, you must have one heck of a market. Where are you from? And he said, I'm from Pennsylvania. And I said, that thing brought quite a bit. And he said, boy, he said, you just don't find them like that anymore. And he started telling me what a great piece it was. It was probably 1860s thereabouts, and he just loved it, and he picked it up and started showing it to me. And I said, yeah, I said it was mine. I'm familiar with it. And I took it from him and turned it upside down, and on the bottom it was signed with a black Sharpie. It said, Hard Times Original, and the date, I think it was 1994 or 1995, something like that. And then it had my name on it, signed in cursive. And I said, what did you think that was? He said, I don't know what that was. He said, people are always writing on stuff. He said, I'm not worried about what that is. And I said, well, what that is, Hard Times Original, means that I built this about 4 or 5 months ago. And I said, that date is now, and that's my signature. He said, no. He said, no way. He said, I've been doing this for a lot of years. He said, this piece, and he started in telling me about it again. I said, well, the dry sink that was made from all that you're saying about that dry sink is true, but this piece was created from a dry sink just a few months ago. He said, well, I'll be. I said, well, just out of curiosity, I said, what would you get for something like that? He said, I'd price it in my shop for $1,100. And he said, first time I got a serious offer, $700 or $800, somebody'd own it. I said, well, what are you going to do about that? What's on the bottom? He said, now that I know what it is, he said, oh, let's paint over it. So that's the rest of that story. And I always enjoyed telling the story, and I wished I could have got that guy. I talked to him about coming to Indiana and going through my barn, but he never showed up.